my strength. So oftentimes employees are misaligned because they're good at it, they're competent, but they're not happy. So many organizations where people have gotten to these competency jobs, they get promoted, more money, but they don't enjoy what they're doing. So what I can help to do is help to realign strengths, the personality strengths. And when I say strengths, I don't talk about what you're good or not good at doing, competency. It's when you use your strength, you can feel the energy inside of you. You can feel how excited you get because you're really doing the things you love to do. And it puts you into that flow state.
You are listening to the Say Something Serious podcast, a podcast about best friends and big topics. Thanks for joining.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Say Something Serious. We are so excited you're here today. We have with us Dr. Tom Myers. Tom has a PhD in synchronicity research. He was a professor and is now a strengths-based coach and consultant who helps you focus on your own individual strengths and tying in the world of synchronicity to access your highest potential. Tom, thank you for being here.
Great. Thank you, guys. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming. We're so excited.
Yeah, good to talk. Always fun to talk about synchronicity.
Yeah, my favorite topic. We were hoping you could start by just giving a brief introduction to what is synchronicity and maybe sharing an experience that has happened in your life.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to, the word kind of was derived by Dr. Carl Jung, who's a psychologist from Switzerland, who actually started thinking about this in 1928 and was thinking in his mind, like, how is it that things our lives start to fall together in time? And how is it that what we're thinking about within our internal psyche all of a sudden starts to manifest or match what might be happening in the external physical world? So he was thinking about this for many, many years, 1928 till around 1952. And he met up with actually a former therapy client who is also kind of the founder of quantum physics, named Wolfgang Pauli. So when Jung was explaining to Pauli from a quantum physics side about synchronicity, Pauli kind of validated, well, there are physical ways within the world of quantum physics using energy, particles, waves of energy, that things can kind of come together and coincide. So it's not just a psychological theory. So it was at that point that they both co-wrote or worked on the research about synchronicity, writing about how these events in our lives, how they can come together at the right place at the right time. Ironically, because Jung was always self-conscious about this. He didn't want to expose himself as maybe being, a little woo-woo or kind of out there. But when he did publish, all of his colleagues in the world of psychology, psychoanalysis, then said, "Oh, thank you for writing that," because I was thinking the same thing. I just didn't want to be the first to expose myself and maybe look ill in the world of psychological academia. So anyway, that kind of launched it, and everyone's like, "Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. That happened to me too." So essentially, what synchronicity is, synchro is coming together, sync, and then chronos is the Greek word for time. So how things come together in time, and the word of synchronicity came about. So essentially, as I mentioned earlier, what you might be thinking about internally could be through thinking about someone, something, could be a dream that you had, could be just happen, free flow of consciousness, and then lo and behold, it's happening in the physical world. It can come from many different sources. It can come from dreams. It can come from numbers, music, words on a page at the right place at the right time. So it's how you might make meaning of that. and careful not to read into it so much that it creates like you're so sensitive to it 24/7. Like, what does that mean? What does that, that could, cause some pieces. So things come together, what you're thinking about internally, externally manifests. It has deep personal meaning. Okay. And it's very personal. So what might be important to one person may not affect or really, cause any kind of excitement with someone else. You can have like a continuum of things coming. You may hear the same person's name through disparate people saying, like, who don't know each other, but they comment on the same thing. That's kind of telling you, oh, this is interesting. I just heard about that. Now it's come together again. Signs and symbols, rainbows, stars, animal manifestations. Oh my gosh, this is someone, I can kind of sense a presence with them. It has synchronicity can have a numinous feeling or a spiritual mythical feeling to it that you say to yourself, this is like the hairs on the back of my neck are standing up. It gives me goosebumps. This is like so bizarre that I had this experience. It could never happen again in a million years. And you could say, well, it's just coincidence, but it is creating a common meaning and a common direction for you. People can have so many different interpretations of synchronicity, but I just like to think of it kind of being, you're meant to have this opportunity happen to you and for you at this time. So things coming together in time, and that understanding there's an interconnectedness of everything in the world. So that's kind of an explanation of of synchronicity. Example, I think the one that I've used before, but it's one that continues on, like, and who knows where this story will go in the future. My dad, back in the late 50s, had a very close friend, and my dad was a ski patrol at a mountain, and his good buddy, they used to ski together, and unfortunately, this good friend, ski buddy, my dad's, was killed in a plane crash in late 60s. So fast forward to the late 80s, and one of my former roles was a ski racing coach. So I was in Europe skiing, and we were training together with our racers with another coach, and we end up, kind of forming a bond and training together. So we're going up the T-bar on the glacier, and we're just talking about our parents and what happened. And so he said, yeah, my dad, from New York, but he was killed in a plane crash. It was a very, very unique plane crash. It was actually a glider. You don't hear many people killed in a glider. And I'm like, wait a minute, my dad had a friend who was killed in a glider. Like, what's the chance of that being the same guy, right? So ultimately, come to find out, like, it was his dad and my dad were the best ski buddies, and now we're skiing together. And I was actually explaining about the crash, and there are things he didn't know about that crash that I knew about. So anyway, fast forward again to probably during COVID. I was talking to Dad, and my dad was explaining about his friend killed, good ski buddy, showing pictures. That's what we do. Is I was digitizing a lot of slides, and we're going through the slide. Oh, there's my friend, my best ski buddy. He was killed in the glider. Like, yeah, I know that, Dad. And then he goes on to say, well, he was the one who introduced, your mother to me. When my mom came up for a ski trip, they stayed at his lodge. He introduced my dad to my mother. So then you come to find out, well, if this guy hadn't been around or they hadn't made that introduction, I would never have been born. So that was, So I always say, well, who knows what's going to happen next? Synchronicity and these events that are continuous and indefinite. What will happen in the future? Could there be more events of this relationship with my dad and his friend and the guy that I met skiing, and that introduction to my parents? So who knows where that might go?
What an amazing story. I mean, it makes you really want to pay more attention to what's happening around you and be more curious and connect with more people, and just be open to see kind of like what's playing out all around you.
Yeah. There's some really, really great, and it's going to tie to synchronicity too, but some really great research that was done by a psychologist out of the UK who wanted to know, are some people luckier than others? Like, how is it that this person always wins the lottery or wins a raffle, always meets the most fascinating people, gets the best jobs, goes on? How is it that this one person is so lucky? So he wanted to know, are people luckier? Are some people born lucky? Are some people luckier than others? And so he did this vast longitudinal research of people 18 to 80 years old from all walks of life, all racial backgrounds, all work, socioeconomic levels. It was in the UK. And he found that there were 4 things that every lucky person shares. And when you say, are you a lucky person? They say, yes, I'm a lucky person. Well, you've lost your family, you've had terrible tragedy, you've gone bankrupt, you have had all these, life devastating events, yet you still say you're lucky. Why? So the 4 things he says that everyone shares, first of all, to back up, you make your own luck, right? You're not genetically born. Of course, you can be genetically born into a certain family, yes, but you create your own luck. So the 4 areas that he defines, and you hit on one of them already, is you increase chance opportunities. The more people you talk to, the more time you get yourself out there, the more resumes you submit. It's statistically, the more you put out, the more it's going to come back. And I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people who have started very, very successful businesses by meeting someone on an airplane who said, okay, I'll be your first investor. Just by opening up that conversation. So you're open to the opportunities, you're open to meeting more people, not having a fearful effect that they're going to want something from me or something terrible is going to happen, obviously. But you create the opportunities by speaking to more people. You understand, hey, I know how to maybe leverage that. You can meet people, but how might that be of use, or how much you'd be able to leverage that in a positive way? Secondly, it has to do with kind of the affect you have of a positive or negative affect. And we all know folks who can be incredibly negative and down, and it drains your energy, right? You can oh man, every time I see this person, there's more bad news or something is, it just, and you walk away exhausted because, oh my God, they just suck the energy out of me. So people who give off, who manifest and kind of can have a positive outlook, and creating, going into every situation expecting the best to come out of it. Going into an interview, going to meet a new person, expect this is going to be some great stuff. Subconsciously, non-verbally, all these things come out to show this. Thirdly, if things don't work out, you don't take it personally. It's like, oh, I said the most stupidest thing in my job interview. It probably sank me. So you don't beat yourself up. And Martin Seligman, who's the founder of positive psychology, a book called learn helplessness. So it's but he has the 3 P's: personal, pervasive, and permanent. So pessimistic people share the 3 P's. Oh, it's raining outside. Oh, damn. Why is it always permanent happen to me, right? And pervasive, it's like I had control over the rain and I forgot to bring my umbrella. You beat yourself up. So the 3 P's. So going into a situation expecting the best, it doesn't work out. You learn from it and move on. Learn, what have I learned from that? Don't make it permanent, pervasive, and personal, but move on. Learn from it and move on. So it's the adage of making, lemonade and lemons. It's hard. We're humans. We have emotions. We have many vast experiences that can kind of inform this. It's hard, but it's like, how do you move on from that and learn? Lastly, and they're not in any order, but is trusting your gut. And this is maybe where the synchronicity comes in as well. But you get a feeling, you get, a direction that is leading you in a way. I don't know it logically. This just doesn't make sense, but it just feels right. And so trust your gut. And there's all the work with the brain gut axis with the vagus nerve, the connection between feeling queasy in your stomach and it's sensing something, this nervousness, there's something that just doesn't feel right. You trust that. And if it feels right, and again, trust that and go with it. So and then when you trust that gut, and that's when you trust that gut, then the things that are going to come to help you from synchronicity or the right place, the right time is going to help to support you getting there.
I love that. I mean, I think I see and interact with so many people who are kind of afraid to be hopeful because they're afraid of the disappointment. And I have had this conversation time and time again over the years with maybe someone who's going through a hard time and hoping for some sort of outcome, but they're like, I don't want to get my hopes up. And we have this conversation of, well, is it going to hurt any less if you don't get your hopes up? Like it will still hurt, right? If it doesn't work out, you're still going to have pain. You can handle that pain. But in the meantime, it might be helpful for you to put your hopes into it, right? But there is so much fear about being hopeful. So you think part of being a lucky person is kind of engaging with that sense of hope and positivity and believing that things will work out for you.
Yeah, and I think you're worthy of it. So I know so many people who want to self-sabotage and they feel, I'm getting close to something I really love. But then, the self-worth comes in. It's like, do I really deserve this? And subconsciously, I mean, you may have many clients or some clients that like get close, but they kind of self-sabotage and don't feel like they're worthy of this goodness.
You're hitting on one of my questions, so I want to go there right now. Is that if you're engaging in this synchronicity work and kind of like getting to know your strengths, getting to know what is unique about yourself, paying attention to the synchronicities as they're happening around you, over time, do you think that can change somebody's kind of core beliefs about themselves and about the world if they really cultivate this practice of synchronicity, kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, synchronicity spotting or, kind of communicating with the universe?
Yeah, it's an awareness, and once you start to be open to and believe that there are good things that will happen for you. And within the synchronicity world, I can't go on without saying that part of synchronicity is believing in something larger than yourself, that you're not the ultimate one in control, but there's something, and we all have a definition of what that, higher power, that, the universe, a God, wants the very best for you. And so if you can tap into that power, that things are going to happen that will work out better than you could anticipate or ever imagine in your mind, but the right people, the right resources, the right things will come to you when you need them. So as it relates to, I think, so, and you may see this so often in your practice, but how people devalue themselves. And I talked about the self-worth earlier, but I contend that like everyone has a genius inside in them. I call it the natural genius, which is a combination of your personality and your strengths. And just to think about, the 8 trillion people in the world now, or what just came 8 billion, sorry. But 8 billion.
Like trillion. Really exploding.
Yeah. 8 billion. That you're unique. You're the only one. Only one in the world that has the combination of DNA with your strength, personality, and to think that everyone has this unique strength or unique, natural genius. So how might you tap into that? And that how might you use that in order to tap into more synchronicity awareness, as we call it, or activation? How do you enhance and cultivate more of these opportunities? So what might work for me to tap into understanding the signs, the words, the whispers that are coming to me for synchronicity would be very different from someone else. I can sit and meditate. Someone else say, no, Tom, I got to go out and I have to play music, or I have to go for a walk in the woods, or I have to, kind of connect with friends, and then things start to happen too. So it's so important to kind of understand your own self, that what works best for you is not going to work for other people, to start to see these things that are coming to you.
I love that you're saying that. Erin and I had this conversation recently. She had asked me, like, how do I ask for signs? What is my synchronicity practice? And I was sharing kind of how I go about it with her. And then she's like, all right, this is not working for me. I'm not seeing the yellow bird, right?
Yeah.
She asked for a sign. What works for me, it doesn't work the same. Doesn't mean it never will. But, when I meditate, if I get some type of, information or an idea, I will ask the universe for a sign. Can you show me a sign to look for out in the world? So kind of this reflection of what's happening internally. Can I see it manifesting out in the world to just let me know I'm on the right path? Sometimes it works so much, I'm like, I don't actually believe this. And it's wild. You get this rush in your heart when you're like, oh, that's it. Okay, here we are. We're on the right track. But I love what you're saying about like what works for me is not going to work for the next person. And it's part of kind of the fun of investigating, like, what is going to work for me? Is it art? Is it nature? So yeah. Erin,
what you said a little while ago really resonated with me. My synchronicity is, Mindy has this really powerful connection with the universe where she asks for a sign and it comes. I find my synchronicities are presented to me. So like most recently, I was reading something and it was about ley lines. Ley lines is not something that I have really ever been into. I don't know much about them. But then over the course of like 7 days, people kept bringing it up to me, right? Where they were like, oh, did you know there's a ley line? Like, have you ever heard of ley lines? Like, there's one under this house. Like, there's a river that flows under. And it was over and over and over again. And that's my recognition that like the universe wants me to at least learn more about this or pay more attention to this. And that's how it shows up for me. It's not something I'm like, oh, like Mindy has an amazing story about like red balloons that she's going to tell, right? That like, it's like a symbol. And I tried to do it her way. And I was like, God, show me a, yellow bird. And I still haven't seen the goddamn bird. But when it is something that's meant for me, it comes up over and over and over. And I have this like feeling in my head, like, oh, the universe wants me to pay attention.
And that's a great, really, really great setup, because what I worked on is in my research, I found that things happen in patterns. as we see one thing after another. Typically three. I love the word three. I love the symbolism of three, but typically people say it happens in threes. So I developed this head, heart, hand concept for the three A's. So ley lines. So all of a sudden someone says, "Hey, Aaron, you should pay attention to ley lines." You're like, okay. So in your head, you cognitively have logged that in your memory, like, okay, someone said ley lines, interesting. And then probably very quickly thereafter, you heard from another unrelated source about ley lines, or you saw it on TV or something. And then maybe you say to yourself, oh, this is freaky. This guy has that numinous thing I was talking about, the mystical kind of piece to it. Like, whoa, that's weird. I just heard that. Someone just mentioned that yesterday. So now intuitively in your heart, or kind of in your intuition, it's like, okay, this is meaning something. So the head, the cognitive side, the heart is more of an awakening. So awareness and then awakening, like, okay, something's telling me something. Lo and behold, there's a third piece where you hear it or see it, or someone mentions it to you again. It's probably, as you mentioned earlier, it's probably telling you need to follow through on something. So that's the hand. Like, that means action. I got to do something. This person has told one person about a book, another person the same book. I see the book in the bookstore. I probably ought to buy that book and
better buy the
read
book.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's telling
They
you to
kind of
kind of
up the
take
ante.
action. Yeah.
So like the ley lines thing, I was hearing, I saw a YouTube video, and then I heard it on television, and then somebody mentioned it to me. The last time it came up, I had a person standing in front of me, and I was like, it's so weird. You're like the fourth person to bring this up to me in a week. And she had information that would make me take action. She was like, if you go to the historical society inside the library, they will show you where all the underground rivers in the city are. And I was like, oh, there it is. Like I didn't even have to work that hard. It just
action.
like kept right. Finally I knew, because I knew it was something, but I didn't know what am I supposed, I went on Google Earth. I tried to find some like internet sources about ley lines. It's actually like kind of a very confusing and it's not a science. So it's just not a science. So people are like, oh, I drew a line from this mountain to this mountain, and that's a ley line. And so I was like, I don't know where. I just felt lost in the sauce until this woman's like, here is one thing you can actually do that is connected to your life in your town. And now I know what to do.
Yeah. And who knows where it'll take you in the future. If you know more about it, you research about it, you understand it more, and then something in the future is going to come that is where you'll be prepared, or you're ready for that because you knew about the ley lines. And
right.
So it's, yeah.
I'll go to the library, and then a month from now, somebody will be like, do you know if there's any underground rivers in this city? And I'll be like, actually,
I know them all.
Or you may go to
I do.
You do. And, well, can you come help us understand, whatever that you have insight, or you may meet someone because of the ley lines that is going to help, another step. Who knows? But I think it's the idea that you're not closed. You're not convergent, or not closing things down, but you're looking divergently, like, what's opening out there? Why am I getting this stuff? I just feel, again, the intuition, I feel it's right to follow through. Something has kind of happened, and, I can have some control over, I'm going to kind of chart this destiny. Don't know where it's going to go, but I just feel it's the right place to, right direction.
It's a lot easier to trust when you feel like the universe is working with you, right?
Yeah. And I think that's key. And as I said, this higher power, whatever this energy, it wants the very best for you. And you can look at it that way, that it's guiding you in the direction that you should go. And I think one of the pieces about today's world is just, there's a lot of chaos, and I think a lot of people can feel loss of control, but if folks can go back and understand, well, there is something guiding me, and it is wants good things for me. Okay, it's not going to set you up for destruction and for failure, but reframe it positively that it's to set you up for success or for fulfillment. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's making me, what you're saying about the ley lines, how something kind of presented itself to you a couple of times, is making me think about when I first moved to New York. I didn't know anybody. I moved with a family who was amazing. They gave me this opportunity to live in with them, be a personal assistant, go to college, because I was kind of lost. I took the opportunity, but knew nobody. And the doorman in this building, I remember him saying, like, you've got to go to McLean Avenue. You're really, I'm in New York City. This is like up in Yonkers. You're really going to love McLean Avenue. I just have a feeling. I'm like, okay, like McLean Avenue, clocked it. And then I think it was someone else who worked for this family was like, I think you should really like take a trip up to McLean Avenue. You're really going to like it there. So then there's that whole like, oh, someone mentioned this before. Okay. And I used to drive one of their cars up to one of their homes up in like northern Westchester, and I'd be driving. And I remember for like almost a full year, I would see this McLean Avenue exit and just think like, one day I'm going to go there. I didn't know where to go. And I was a little nervous in that year of being new here. I'm like, not going to go off the exit and just randomly explore. But there's something there for me. And then maybe a year later, I met my now husband who, on our third date, he's like, okay, like, well, why don't you come up to kind of my area, McLean Avenue? And I was like, oh,
here it is.
Okay, here we are. Here is McLean Avenue. I mean, like for the last year, I've been driving by this exit saying like, I'm going there someday for some reason. I don't know why. And then I lived there for, I lived behind McLean Avenue for, I think we were in that house for 10 years.
What town is McLean Avenue in?
It's Yonkers, New York.
It is Yonkers. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Just funny. And, I didn't have the language for it at that time, but I had the feeling I still knew and I trusted. Like, all right, there's something there for me.
It's kind of fun because you can go back retrospectively and think, oh, yeah, there are the 3A. There's the first time McLean, second, third. And so you can kind of start to construct what kind of see where synchronicity has taken place in your life. And now you have a frame of reference for going forward. Not that you have to adhere to this is the formula, but at least you're kind of getting, okay, my hand, now I feel it. I got to take action. I got to take action now. So it's a good way to kind of navigate.
Yeah. I mean, it makes me curious about how often do you think this is happening around us? Like these little synchronicities, are they always available for us? I mean, like you said, you don't want to get too much into always making meaning out of every single thing. It can make you anxious. It can, send you down a path you don't need to be on. But in terms of like positive guidance, how often do you feel like we can access things like this?
Well, the cool thing is everything, as I mentioned earlier, is connected. From a physical standpoint, the molecular structure, everything has a connection to everything else. So when you understand it is all connected, then you probably could see synchronicity in every second. Will that drive you, again, go down a path that's going to be just crazy, But I think tapping into that awareness and a heightened awareness that it's going to help. The right things, the right information, the right resources will come at the time when you need them too. But to know that, like I see it all the time, every day, I'll see things that match or, and again, I've been at it for a while. Do I always know that it's of use? No. But I'm like, yeah, that's interesting. I just saw that book there and there it's on TV. I mean, things like that. Or a word, or I'll hear something, I'll be thinking about something in the news, and the next day that they're talking about that when it hasn't happened yet. How much is that just all the time? But what do you act upon? I guess that's the piece that's really important. When I feel compelled, when I feel like, yes, this is an important opportunity, I should follow through with that. When I get enough of that intuitive sense.
Yeah, there's some trusting the gut that's necessary in knowing like what to follow and where to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've had many synchronicity stories.
You got to tell him the story about him being here today.
Okay. Well, for me, to be honest, for me, synchronicity is, I was very kind of like a closed off person to this for a little while. I wanted to see it, like the science and know the facts. And I know, Erin, you're looking at me like, no, you weren't always like that. But I think there was a time where, and even going through grad school, it's like CBT, rational thinking. And so even when you were talking about Carl Jung and his kind of like doubt, like, do I want to say this? It sounds a little like, oh, I'm a therapist. Do I want to come out and say this kind of stuff? But anyway, over time and practice, I've just become much more comfortable with it. And it's become kind of like I would say for me, a really important part of mental health and positivity, like just staying connected to this practice helps me look in a more positive direction. I think believe in myself more, be more open to meeting new people. And I've obviously listened to your work. I stumbled upon it in probably like late 2023. What I heard really resonated with me. And it's something that over time, anytime I feel like I'm off track with the synchronicity practice, I listen and I'm like, yes, okay, I'm ready. I'm motivated to get back into it. Because, you fall off of your habits sometimes. So when we started this podcast, I thought, wow, like Dr. Tom Myers would be a great guest for us to have at some point. But then like the doubt comes in, like not right now. We're very new. We don't really have that much experience. Put it down. So something you've talked about is like it's necessary to quiet the mind to really get into connection with the synchronicity that's happening all around you. So through meditation is how I do that. And one day I was meditating and it just kind of popped into my brain, like, why don't you just try? Why don't you just try to reach out, see what happens? Now I had that thought in my conscious day and it continuously was just, no, like not right now, no way. And so I had this meditation. I'm thinking, all right, maybe reach out. And I asked the universe, show me a sign that this is the right thing to do. And it was like a red heart-shaped balloon, which is kind of specific. It's not Valentine's Day. Yeah. I'm not going to see this anywhere. Well, let me tell you, like it almost became obnoxious. I was texting Erin. I think I saw like 10 to 15 in a week of these red heart-shaped balloons. They were everywhere. I was like, what is happening? Like, is this happening? I was sending Erin pictures, it kind of just became a laugh at that point. So I did, I reached out to you for a synchronicity activation as a coach, which was such a cool experience. And just getting to know you and meet you, I knew, like, why don't you just ask? Because he's down to earth. He's open to connection. I could just, again, trusted my gut. Just ask. It's worth a shot. And here you are.
Yeah.
And if I didn't take that time to quiet my mind and the chatter and the doubt, we wouldn't be here right now.
And if the universe didn't deliver you 15 red heart balloons in the middle of March or April or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just trusting you gut. And I do love what Mel talks about is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the 5-second principle of just like do it. Like you get it, you get that intuitive sense, like I got to do it. Pick up the phone and make the call or email or whatever. What's the worst that can happen? Is as you say, may not hear back, whatever. But at least when you have, the compunction to do something or an intuitive sense, like just do it. And if you sit on it for too long, then it can wane and, then you have regret. But, when you have that sense, just go for it. And I'm always happy to talk to everyone about synchronicity. So it's always good.
Curious about your thoughts on I guess what I would call the other side of the coin. Like I definitely believe that everything is connected. We are all sort of an expression of source energy, and that we have all these energetic connections that are working out to unfold our destinies. But I also think that we focus a lot, especially in the spiritual space, on the stuff that happens to us, in the sense that like I believe if you want the hand of God to work in your life, you're also agreeing to be the hand of God. And
Yeah.
so you are often other people's synchronicities. And that's a part that I think I recognize, I channel a lot. And it's so I'm hyper aware of that. But I think it's important for people to realize that you're not just waiting for someone to give you what you ask the universe for. It's also important to clock when the universe is putting you in a position to be what somebody else needs. Like if you happen to be the expert on X, Y, and Z, and somebody walks into your, the same waiting room as you and goes, God, I just wish I knew somebody that had this answer.
Yeah.
And you have it. Like that's the universe saying, hey, now you got to do your part in being other people's synchronicity. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And back to the research by Dr. Richard Wiseman on luck. It's like you can have all these things come to you. The more chance opportunities you create, you also have to know how to act upon them. So if you're you're part of the synchronicity, you're acting and you're creating it for others as well. But you have to know, you can't just sit back and say, okay, I'm waiting for, the pot of gold to fall in my lap. I don't have to do anything because I asked, the universe for it. It's going to come to me. I just feel it. There's that action that needs to be taken for you to follow through to make that happen. Not sure if that's answering your question on the flip side, but that you are part of other people's synchronicity opportunities. You don't know that because you're that resource that's coming to help someone. They've asked for it, but you happen to be that person at that time.
Yeah, I think it's a fun it's fun to be aware of both sides, I think. Both when you are the thing that is bringing it to others and when it's being brought to you, and understanding that that's like a give and take that you're having with the universe. When you are the one that happens to be on the train and you're like, why did I put these napkins in my purse? And then the person next to you spills their their
Yeah.
milkshake. You're like, I'm the one. I knew that I did that for a reason, right? And it's a another way to validate. And it's not just something that's coming to you, it's something you're giving and you're
Yeah. Yeah.
participating in that cycle.
I think I can bring it to a real tangible application in that I've always been my personality, who I am. I'm a connector. I love to reach out to people. I do that because it brings me great joy to reach out to people, to connect with them, get together for a beer, go coffee, go fishing together, reach out to people to invite. I don't do it for quid pro quo. Like I don't invite you for coffee because I'm expecting you to invite me next time, and I'm going to wait for that. It doesn't happen. I'm the one who makes things happen. So I'm kind of like, I'm not expecting anything in return, but I think it's sometimes hard because you expect, well, sometimes get an invite, it doesn't happen, but you can't rely on that. But using my personality, my strengths, my interest in helping other people to connect, I'll be the initiator, and I'll always do that. So again, one of my strengths, and it brings me great fulfillment and pleasure to be able to reach out to make those connections, because oftentimes guys I know who are more introverted, they're not going to be the initiator. And when I do reach out to them, hey, thinking about you, let's go get a cup of coffee, let's go have a beer. Thank you, Tom. I really, really needed that. I really, it was a good time that you called me. So
Yes,
again,
that
there's
is
that.
you,
Yeah,
hearing the voice of the universe and acting upon it as well.
yeah, yeah.
Tell me about, I noticed that you do like business coaching, like it's sort of life or direction coaching. I guess it doesn't have to be a business. It could be a nonprofit. It could be whatever, right? Tell me about, I think, trying to remember on your website, there was some system that you invented.
It's probably something along the lines of using appreciative inquiry, which is looking at what are the positive aspects of a business. So I do a lot of like strategic planning work with companies, starting first with what are the strengths of the organization. So you're working on a very strength-based focus. A lot of businesses, like when you do a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Okay. Yes, you have to be realistic about what are the things that are out there that you need to navigate. But if you come from it from a kind of a problem based, and so many times business are looking at what are our problems, and we've got to solve the problem. We have to solve the problem of personnel. We have to solve the problem of just logistics, of finance. So it seems that once you begin to solve that problem, it's like the whack-a-mole, another problem arises. So with appreciative inquiry, you're looking at, like, appreciative inquiry is to business and organizations as positive psychology is to the individual. So it was funny because I was, not to throw out names, but I was with Marty Seligman, and I was explaining, he came to a conference that we hosted, and I was able to spend a lot of time showing him around Burlington, Vermont. And I was explaining appreciative inquiry because we're doing a summit on appreciative education, looking at the positive growth mindset of students. And he said, yeah, I get it. So positive psychology is the individual, as appreciative inquiry is to the organization. That's pretty good. So you're looking at what are the strengths of an organization, what could be out there. So instead of saying, what are our problems, let's create a positive topic for our future. What would this organization look like in 5 years if everything was working incredibly well and where we'd want it? Who would be in place to make that happen? And how can we get there? So you start with this positive affirmation, and that kind of drives the energy of the organization to get there. So instead of using SWOT, I use SOAR.
That's what it was.
That's it. So it's
okay. That's like the 80-20 rule that they
Yeah.
always talk about. I'm in business, and they say, like, you get a lot more out of focusing on your strengths than you do about ruminating about your weaknesses.
Yeah.
In
Yes.
profit, growth, all of that, right?
Yeah. So you start with the strengths. So with organizations, I'll start with each individual. What's your personality? What's your strength? Each individual comes, and that comes collectively together. And now we created what are the strengths of the team? And it can aggregate the strengths of the person to the team. And how does that grow to the strengths of the organization? So first is kind of discovery or what is the strength of the organization. Aspirations soar. So the next one is opportunities. Like, what are the opportunities out there for us? How can we go after that? Immediately, listing short-term, long-term. Aspirations, where do we want to be in the future? 5 years down the road, this is an organization. We see ourselves as this organization. Think big, kind of go like the BHAG or the big, hairy, audacious goal. Go for it. Makes you sweat a little bit, makes you nervous, but it's challenging. Results, finally. How do we know when we get there? What are the benchmarks? What kind of milestones and metrics that we'll use to measure? Have we gotten there yet? Is it all, rainbows and unicorns, or have we really made that effort? And then it's cycle to readjust what are strengths and how do we keep going that way. So I've done that with many organizations, and starting with, the individual to the enterprise is kind of the method. Synchronicity will play into that. It's part of the business consulting, but it's more, how does the group come together to find new opportunities? And once you start to introduce that, then again, it kind of generates more resources for these opportunities.
When is the right time for a business to seek out your expertise on that? When things are good, bad, anytime?
Someone's told me sometimes in frustration about businesses not wanting to do more is like you have a CEO, a leader of an organization, it's doing okay. All right, our sales are good, margins are doing well, we're meeting our investors' needs. It's okay. It could be a hell of a lot better, but like I don't want to rock the boat. And someone said they don't want to rip the Band-Aid off. There's probably a lot of crap that's issues there, but like I'm just going to let it go. But then you realize what could be so much. Yeah, people are doing their job. They're okay. They're not real happy, but they're performing. How much better could it be when the people who are part of your organization are feeling great because they're being asked to do the things that they love to do, that connects their strengths. So it's one of those pieces of how much better performance and happier, more fulfilled employees with a higher level of engagement that you could get that. So it's really probably no great time. Probably not a good time when it's going down the tubes and everyone's getting laid off or fired. But again, there's always a time to be able to turn some things around. I work with
So maybe a
organizations.
moment of stagnation, like when you feel like, wait, it feels like we could do better, but there, it seems like you're coasting and you're like, okay, how can we like reactivate the, what is the word I'm looking for? Potential that's in the human beings running this organization. Are we tapping everybody's potential at the highest level? That's you. Then you call Tom, and Tom can come in and sort of activate the potential of the people that are already there.
Yeah, and so often, my experience and personal experience, you're doing things you're really good at, but you hate it. Okay. Oftentimes I'm asked to be a secretary for an organization because I'm really good at organization and notes. I hate taking notes and I hate having to transpose the minutes. But the better you do at it, oh, Tom will do it because he's really good at it. I hate that. It's not my strength. So oftentimes employees are misaligned because they're good at it, they're competent, but they're not happy. So many organizations where people have gotten to these competency jobs, they get promoted, more money, but they don't enjoy what they're doing. So what I can help to do is help to realign strengths, the personality strengths. And when I say strengths, I don't talk about what you're good or not good at doing, competency. It's when you use your strength, you can feel the energy inside of you. You can feel how excited you get because you're really doing the things you love to do. And it puts you into that flow state. So the assessments I use called Strength Scope that really melds intrinsic motivation with external interest and talents. So it's not, you can feel the energy you're using when you're doing this stuff or doing the things that you really enjoy doing.
Cool. Do you think it's a good system for entrepreneurs, like solo entrepreneurs?
Yeah. Yeah. I think as a solo entrepreneur, it can show your personality, again, how you interact with the world, how you organize your life, your coupled with your strengths, and then to show, you know what? I'm a one-person show. I don't have any strengths or interest in this other area that my business really needs. So then you can understand how could I complement my solo entrepreneurship with someone as a consultant or someone, as a CPA or someone who can help me kind of get to that next level. So you understand, like, and I don't want to go back to school to become a CPA. I have no interest in that. I should. You think you have to be good at everything. No, that you find someone who's better at that than you are. So I think
So
that can help.
important to figure out what to outsource.
Yes.
Also, and to release the guilt around that. I think I'm in real estate, right? We're all like, we do everything ourselves, right? And often you see when people go to the next level in my industry, it's because they've recognized what they should get off their plate.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And someone was
and
talking
give
in
to
a
someone
meeting
else.
last night, like you have to learn to loosen your hands, because we grip so tightly on what we have to do, we must do, got to do everything. Like, well, some things you just can't do everything. So like, how do you loosen your hands to let go of the things that, you know, you probably don't have to worry about right now, and someone else could do that for you. Yeah, it's a good, because I know experience wise, I'll spend too much time redesigning a website when graphic design isn't me. I could probably go to a friend of mine, could do it in like 30 seconds, but it took me 2 hours to figure. It's just the, you know, realignment of our interests and our strengths.
Totally.
From a therapy side, are you seeing, like what we've talked about today, your clients kind of mirroring some of the things that we talked about, maybe from a self-deprecating or a self-defeating attitude, where you can see areas that could be helpful for them to kind of understand how to reframe that?
Absolutely. I think really, of course, I have to be careful in like who I present this work to and make sure it's in alignment with what they already kind of either believe or are curious about. But I actually recently have someone who was looking to make a major life change, but there was, again, a lot of doubt, like I had about reaching out to you. And we have spoken about signs and synchronicities and things like that before. It's something that they were very open to. And I just encourage them to kind of like take a moment of pause to ask for a sign that they're on the right track, because they were looking for making this change. And something that really resonated with them was, I think it was like a lucky penny, right? A lucky penny. And so we had this conversation, being open, and probably within like 10 minutes, 5 minutes of leaving my office, they texted me, I just found a lucky penny with my birth year. And like, they were so excited. And then again, within the week, another lucky penny with their birth year.
Wow.
And then the third thing that came was this major life change that they were trying to make was a new job. And this job that they have now accepted was on the floor of their birth year. I don't want to give the number. But the job is on the floor of their birth year. So when they got that information and they were going through the interview, they were like, this is right. Like, this is just a sign for me that this is the right. They were going for 2, and they were leaning more towards that one. And that number just was a little sign for them to say, okay, I can do this. I'm going to put aside the doubt. I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to believe in myself. And look, there they are. They're going.
It's awesome.
So
It's
it
awesome.
shows
Yeah, and
up.
it's nice. Is a little sign that may not be significant to you or I, but to them, it's just vital, and it can help to make a decision. And you know, imagine it's because this positive, intuitive sense they feel like this feels right. This is, the signs are pointing me this direction, and it's, you know, it's going to be good. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the doubt is a normal part of life for all of us. Our brain wants to keep us safe and keep our life predictable. And if you understand that and are willing to kind of just, again, like you have said before, kind of quiet that and be open to something else, it can really be a motivator. And it's awesome to watch it happen. It's awesome to watch other people kind of open up to this a little bit.
Yeah, there's a famous story, Carl Jung, who is meeting with a client for many weeks, and he was not having any breakthrough. Like, this woman couldn't break through, get to it. And they were talking, and she said, I had this weird dream about a golden scarab or a beetle. He said, oh, that's interesting. And he gets up and he hears this, you know, tapping at the window. Like, what is that? And he goes to the window and opens it up. And lo and behold, is this golden scarab beetle, which is very rare in Switzerland, or I think it's Switzerland at the time, but very rare for that to be there at that time. So it's kind of like the penny. And so he he picks up the golden scarab and shows it to his client. And it's like, okay, is this, and that was a breakthrough. It's like, okay, there's, I need to start,
something to it.
Looking into it and, kind of having more of an opportunity to break through some, new things she was working on. So it's kind of, that's the golden
it really
scarab.
gives you that.
Yeah, it's a famous story.
I love that. I've never heard that, but it does really give you this sense of like, I'm not alone. Something is here for me, with me, all along the way. And it's just a nice feeling. And, for me personally, and I can't speak for everyone, but it feels like there's communication there, because when the sign comes, I'm like filled with gratitude, and it's magical.
Yeah. And it's, in this day and age, there's just such an increased or an epidemic of loneliness and disconnection. And I'm doing some research now and reading a great book by Jonathan Haidt, Haidt, called the Anxious Generation, and the Gen Zs, born 1995 till what's happened again with technology, social media, smartphones, and how that has totally disrupted. When we grew up, we had connections with friends. We were synchronous in our conversations. When there were issues that arose on the playground, we learned how to communicate to work through that, which is, again, training for adulthood when we're, communicating and collaborating and cooperating with people. So there's this whole major disruption of the generation that's now focused on phones and disconnecting from kind of this live communication piece. So I think there's a more concerted effort now to how do we bring this generation back to, it's a fearful, it's an anxious, it's a risk averse generation. It's there's some real concerns there, but how technology can disrupt that. So part of our work is how do we bring back into concert this communication with young folks, and having believing in something bigger than yourself, and synchronicity that's not technology, that things can be good for them, or good for you individually.
Feel connected.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Mel spoke about this on the episode that you did with her, where she looks for hearts. And that's something I've been doing for years. Again, before I had the language for it, but my daughter does it. And everywhere we go, I mean, it could be like a potato chip. It could be a piece of gum on the road, like whatever it is, it kind of fills her up with a little bit of joy. Right. And it's just like one small way she can train her brain to be like in her present environment and feeling connected.
Yeah. And the little simple, little
fun.
tiny thing. Yeah. Little things like that. It just brings great joy, and just, it's so simple too.
Right. Yeah. She gets very excited over, a potato chip heart. It's fun. That's and awesome. Cute.
Yeah.
Curious, if you don't mind sharing, what your beliefs are about what, we all say, like, whatever it is you believe, the universe, God, source, whatever it is. I'm curious if you have a conception that when you try to work it out in your mind about, like, what is the system that is keeping us all connected?
Yeah, to be honest, it's God. And all my research, I've been kind of living in a world of secularism, and very secular. So in my research, I always left it open to people to interpret. What is synchronicity? What do you believe in? Is it source, higher power, Mother Nature, whatever God or gods that you believe in, something larger than yourself? For me personally, it's God. And knowing that there is a plan for me, with a benevolent, loving, compassionate God that wants the very best for me. From a Christian, and again, manifested through Christ, like, how does he live his life is that how I need to follow that as a model for how I live my life. So it's really easy for me, synchronicity, because I know where it comes from, and I can look at all the science and how it's manifested and how it does happen from scientific explanations. But who is directing that? And that's really, really easy. So it brings me great comfort, and as part of my morning practice and meditation and prayer is to listen. What am I hearing? What's the direction of the day? Whom do I need to reach out to? And again, the intuitive feeling, I can get this, I get this. And then it's action, is taking action that day. Who do I need to reach out to? What do I need to do? How can, what do I need to help? So I'm incredibly comfortable with, this part of the synchronicity, but I'm never going to define that. And again, my explanations are more on a secular level.
Yeah. No, I thank you for sharing that. I think, I see I have many different beliefs about what God is in the universe, and it's different from one person to the next. But I do believe that we are seeing in the world an increased level of individual suffering as we see faith and belief sort of decrease. Like when we researched you and we watched some of your things, I noticed a lot of the people were asking you to prove, like, give us some science, tell us why this is real and concrete and etc. And one thing Mindy and I talked about is like, we don't need that at all. Like, we believe in the magic, we have faith in the universe already, and that's such an important thing for people to understand, that it's okay to have faith. It's okay. You don't need a university to affirm for you something that you feel inside of you and something that's bringing you joy and connection. And it's not to say that like listening to the science isn't fun and interesting and can help validate it for you. Like, we love all that too, but there's value in faith and a belief in something bigger than yourself. So thank you for being willing to share just like, where you come from in that sense.
And there's a lot of research recently, and New York Times had articles on called Belief, that a lot of people are searching and have gone down the roads of new age spirituality, and it's not satisfying, again, what they're looking for, only because it doesn't share the 3 B's of belief, belonging, behaviors. And so to be whatever faith-based organization, it has a sense of belonging and caring of each other. So there's a community. And I can say, I'm going to go for a walk in the woods and commune with, whatever God is out there. It's wonderful too, but you need the sense of community with others and a feeling that other people care for you and will take care and help you in that community piece, and a belief in a God, and behaviors of like, I'm going to behave in my life that's comfortable for me. I'm not going to delve into a world of crime because the behavior there's a cognitive dissonance between my belief and what I would do. Interesting, there's some great research by Dr. Lisa Miller, which I've cited before, and she's a big in the synchronicity piece too, but her work is in what does the brain do with spirituality, and that our brains, and she's a neuroscientist, our brains are genetically constructed for faith, for spiritual practice. 1/3 of our brain is designed to believe in something larger than ourselves. And you think about the dawn of human beings and looking up in the sky and seeing a big bright sun, like, how do you explain that? There must be some sort of a God or something that's like, and the rain and all these things that are coming, you believe there's something bigger than yourself. So our brains are genetically designed or predisposed to believing in something like that. And so her work looked at anxiety and depression as it relates to a spiritual practice. And what does the brain do when in meditation and when in prayer? And what part of the cortices are lighting up during that time? So she was astounded about the reduction of anxiety and depression when people are in some sort of a spiritual approach.
I believe that. I've always had this, we're naturally inclined. What have human beings always done, right? We eat, we drink, we have sex, and we look for God since the dawn of time.
Yeah.
And the first three, nobody's going to argue with you, are necessary for survival. And so for me, that has always validated the idea that the search for God, the search for meaning, is just as important for human flourishing as eating, drinking, and procreating.
Yeah.
Like there's only, if you drop 4 people in the middle of nowhere, they're going to do those 4 things.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And you think about the level of loneliness, and the anxiety and loneliness that's just so pervasive. But to having a community, or to have something you believe in and a community that you can share that with, who cares for you, and it goes both ways. But to feel like you can do it alone is just it's a very difficult existence. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, Lisa Miller, Dr. Lisa Miller is a wonderful, she has a number of great podcasts she's been on. And she has the Center for Spirituality, Mind and Body at Columbia University. So the whole research into spirituality and education, spirituality, our interaction with spirituality.
I think she had a great podcast. Now that you're saying at Columbia, I feel like I remember her podcast.
Yeah. So,
I've definitely listened to her a couple of times, and I can't recall where. But The Awakened Brain, is that right?
Yes.
Is that
Yep.
her?
The Awakened Brain, the
Yeah.
neuroscience of spirituality, living a life of fulfillment or something. But she has great stories about synchronicity in her book, about how her fertility and having children and all these different signs that came to her, and great ways of explaining it. But
Did you write a book yet?
Did
you write a book yet?
Not yet.
Yeah.
Got a lot of
working
papers.
on one?
I have an article I'm writing due next week for a magazine I write for, Rework magazine. And it's about synchronicity in groups. So the use of synchronicity in teams and in groups. So got to have that in. But I have a lot of outlines for books. I'll get to it at some point.
Tossing around. Yeah.
It's always unfolding, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Any other questions, you guys? Anything I haven't touched on that we'd love to hear more about?
Aaron, are you going to flip a card or two? Are you open to Aaron flipping some tarot cards?
Sure.
Okay.
So I did, but what's so funny is they're very in line with what we already talked about. We flipped the card that said, listen to your intuition. Be careful about expecting the worst. And then it said, things look good. You always just need to have patience. And then it has this thing, I guess this might be interesting to expound on. Why do you think that it is that people are always wanting to level up? Like there's something here about, like, how we're always thinking, like, when I get there, then I'll coast. But then you get there and all you can think about is what comes next and what's more is there.
It's never ending, right?
It's a never ending, right? Do you think synchronicity is a good way to figure out what the next path is?
Absolutely. And think it's being comfortable with the present, and that's it's hard for many humans. Is what is next? What's going to be better? What's going to be better? And you get there, and it's not, or it's like, and you. It's so interesting to hear accounts of elite athletes who have won gold medals, who have gotten to the pinnacle, and the level of, like, they hit it, and then now what? And the depression. We talk about Michael Phelps and someone else was just talking about, but like never enough. And so I think it's the synchronicity piece of the right things are supposed to happen at that right time, and you can't make the plan. You can't control the plan. There's a destiny, I think, and I always think it's what's best for you at that time. So to kind of be comfortable with the present. There's a book, The Present, but and Eckhart Tolle talks a lot about the just being in the here and now. But in our society, we're always driven for what's next, and I think it's, for me, I find passion in the things that I love to do. I do it, and that brings me great satisfaction. So I'm not concerned about what's my next step. I think as long as I feel I'm creating positive service to others, that does it. Like I don't
That's your
need
path.
to. Yeah, that's my path. And however I do that, I have many ways, but I mean, however I help other people, I know that brings me great satisfaction. So again,
That
the
feels like
financial
alignment with
award
your
doesn't matter.
purpose.
Yeah.
Right. I have a personal question that I think is not universal, but probably a lot of other people are going through. My stepdaughter is in the middle of college. She went in really feeling like she knew what she was going to do. And midway through, she's switching her major. I think not to anything that it's not like she discovered a new thing. She just discovered it wasn't what she thought. And I guess my question, like, for you would be, when is the right time to send her to you? Is it while she's switching her major, or is it, I just said, I don't care what you get the degree in.
Yeah.
Like, get the degree, because we're way too deep in for this for you to say I want to be a welder. So you got to finish. Is it now so she can pick a degree, or let her graduate and then maybe sign up for your coaching to figure out what the career is?
I did all strength-based assessments with every one of my income first-year students in the business school. And it was their parents were saying, you're going to be a computer coder. You're going to go into high tech, because the parents are both high tech. And one example, and a student said, I don't enjoy this. It's what my parents want. I want to be a teacher. I love marketing and I love teaching. So to do an assessment probably earlier than later, because it also creates a sense of positive agency in yourself to know, these are my strengths. This is what I'm damn good at, and I love it. And if it doesn't align with this career, I need to make that change. I'm going to be miserable 3 years down the road. I'm going to graduate with a degree, but getting there is going to be a pathway of misery, when I should have moved, with my personality and my strengths, I'm better suited for this area of study where I'm going to thrive. And you can't fake it. Like, you can pretend that you enjoy something, and you go into a job interview and, or an internship, and you're just like, I'm excited about this work. But really, you can pick up that you're not that excited.
Is it a one-time thing, or is it a program? Like, if I went onto your website and she's coming back for the summer in about a month, because finals are now. Was this something she can do over the summer? Is this something she can do in an afternoon with you? How
Yeah,
long is
after
this
an
program?
hour. Yeah. So what I do, there's different levels, but it's really finding your natural genius. Well, I do the three, which is your natural genius, which is your personality type indicator, how that couples with strengths. I use, as I said, strength scope. So the top 7 strengths you have of 24 available strengths, what are the top ones that bring, you can feel the energy? So, and it dovetails nicely with your personality. If you're someone who's extroverted, intuitive, most likely you're going to have strengths that match that. The third is what Mindy did with me, was I have an assessment for synchronicity. Like, how open are you to synchronicity awareness and activation? So you take your natural genius, personality, and strengths. How does that fit into the universe of synchronicity? And this goes back to what works well for you to find these synchronicity events and opportunities, as opposed to, trying to fit into a one size fits all type of thing. Like, just sit and meditate for 3 hours, you'll see synchronicity. Well, that's not my personality. So it brings that together and how you connect. So the synchronicity assessment kind of looks at how open you are to these things, to synchronicity in the world.
Okay, so someone in my situation, we start with the assessment, the on your website, like the SOAR assessment. Is that what it's called?
It's strength scope.
The strength scope. Okay.
Yeah. It's the personality. Okay. That's the easiest thing, is to do the personality. Again, it's an online piece, and the strength scope is all online as well. I create a portfolio, a personal portfolio, and then it's meeting online to kind of go through that, and then some ideas of what could be next steps. What major is she in right now?
She was a math major. She thought she wanted to be a math teacher. And I think this year she switched into being a Spanish major, still thinking that she might teach. I come from a family of teachers, and I know a lot of them have had this struggle where it's like, you might be really good at teaching 5th graders math, but if you want a master's degree in that, you have to know math that is really, really high level. I don't know if that's kind of a problem with the system, but that's how it is. Like, if you want to get a math degree, you have to sort of be a math genius. Whereas her skill set is maybe in teaching young children, especially bilingual children, how to reach the basic concepts. And so I think she struggled because she was like, I could, I'm not ready to invent a rocket ship, which is the type of math I'm doing right now. But I still think I'd be really good at reaching kids. So she's trying to find a different door. And I remember being her age, and I remember feeling like I was floundering a bit. And so when I saw your website, I thought maybe this is what she could do this summer that would just help her get focused and confident that hey, you have a set of skills and you're still only halfway basically through your college. This is the time to figure out what those are.
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose going through all years and just being, regretful. I recently worked with a woman who was pre-med, and she was graduated from a great university. She was working an internship, and her internship was working as a midwife. And she loved that, but her parents were doctors, so she was always kind of pushed to be a doctor. And she said, I hate it, because when I see docs, they spend all their time on the paperwork and logistics as opposed to seeing patients. And what I love to do is see patients, and what I love to do is to be collaborative with a team. Like the team I'm working with now in midwifery and all women's practice, we consult with each other. Hey, how should we do this? How should we? So she really wanted that. So she said, okay, I'm not going to med school. I'm going to go to, get my nursing and midwife's degree. So she's at Vanderbilt finishing up.
Nice.
But it was because, like your stepdaughter, is like she loves to see young people come alive through teaching. And is it sitting in a math lab or a computation lab working on advanced problems? It may not be it, but she loves to work with young people and inspire them. So the strengths piece would kind of show her strengths of working, would imagine, collaboratively with in a team, having a common vision, that sort of thing. And her personality might be that matches a way that communicates well with students. Another guy I worked with was an engineer designing advanced things, but he could do it. But what he really loved to do is help train other people and be kind of a part of teaching his fellow workers, as part of the professional development side. So
I
good
love
insights
your
like that.
approach. I feel like, especially for young people, she's Gen Z. She's, I think, very exceptional. But that's such a time, like 21, like there's so much around you letting you know what you're not good at and what
Yep.
you're not competent at yet, because you're learning and you're just constantly running like, oh, I have no idea about that. I have no idea. So something that like lets them tune into like, hey, but you do have these, like, here's a group of things you get to feel good about and confident about, and you build on that instead of it constantly being a, here's what here's what you did wrong. Even college, right? Every
Yep.
paper is like, here are the 5 things you didn't get. It's not like anybody celebrates you for the 95% you got right. It's like you get your paper and you go, okay, I suck in this way, I suck in this way, I suck in this way.
Yeah, and then naturally, and that's the growth mindset. Carol Dweck and her work, what is good that's happening, and how can you grow from this, not be discounted. But I think the work that I do, it shows individuals that you are unique and you're the only one in the world that has these strengths and this combination of personality strengths. And I think it gives an incredible sense of agency and confidence. So she can go into a job interview and say, I know, like, this is what I'm good at. And because it's my intrinsic motivation, it's matching with what what I'm competently good at doing, and not having to feel like you're faking it or feeling like, I'm just going to have to, fake it till you make it. I'm not good at it, but I'll squeak by.
You get to walk through and go, well, Dr. Tom told me I have a natural ability at this. So
and
it's one place where I don't have to feel like an imposter.
No, not at all. And the coolest thing is, it's not me. These are objective assessments. I pull the information together to show how it comes together. But like with StrengthScope, it's the only strengths assessment that's certified by the British Psychological Society. It has a gold standard. It's been vetted, in terms of its rigorous testing. It's in 11 languages. I don't know how many millions of people they have done this with, but I've done it with so many people, even men who are on the autism spectrum, neurodiverse, who would think, I don't believe in this at all. Like, yeah, this is me. This gives me my strengths and where I feel really good about myself. And so the cool thing is, you look at it doesn't show what you're good or bad at doing. It just shows when I'm using my strengths, I am energized and I do really well when I'm doing this. I know the areas I don't enjoy that drain me from my stuff. I know other people who love to do that. That's how you collaborate And you can find people who don't want to do your things. I just don't have.
Right? Because most of us had to figure that out through trial and error.
So this is my strengths wheel. You can't see it, but I'll just show, that's kind of, if you can see.
Cool.
So 24 strengths. The long bars are my real strong suits. Shorter bars are ones that I can do. I have to, because it's my job. But I know other people who get more energized by doing that. So my strengths, the top ones are optimism, enthusiasm, strategic mindedness, creativity, self-improvement, which means curiosity, relationship building, and developing others. So that's what I lean into as my main top 7 strengths. But I know it because I feel it.
I think what's really cool about that is that it's hard for people to feel comfortable. Kind of, some people feel like it's self-praise or whatever, but what you're saying, this is objective. This is what we know to be true. So it feels less like, oh, I'm bragging or whatever. Because I run into this a lot with like strengths-based therapy, right? Like knowing your strengths is one of the most important things to work with in therapy. But it's an uncomfortable thing often. So I like the way you said it. This is objective. We know this is true about you. And I even like the little wheel. It's like you can look back at that. I'm like, oh, like what can I pull from here?
Yeah. And it's, you should feel good. Like you should be able to be confident. These are my strengths. I know it. I can feel it. Like I've always known it in my mind, but there's never been anything to tell me that these are the things that I really, really thrive in. And so and you build off that. Okay, my career, what do I need to do that's going to address more of these strengths than not? And in team environments is what I've done with companies and organizations, is like in your team, what are the areas that drain you? And can you figure out other people who can do that for you, who love to, that's their strength. So, but it is subjective. It's not, oh, someone telling me you're so good at that. Well, yeah, how do you know that? It's like you see me writing notes. I'm good at it, but I hate it. And it does not bring me joy and it drains me, but it's part of a job.
Right. And how great life is when we find a way to do the things that light us up and not just that we happen to be skilled at doing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And also to find a way to ask for a little bit of help or support from someone who would be happy to do that for you, right? Like if it's lighting them up, they want to take on this, you can take on something different.
And don't you guys
Amazing.
feel like when someone asks you, okay, Aaron, Mindy, I know that you are the very best at this. I'm not good. Can you help me? We all feel pride and excitement when someone sees us as being an expert and really competent and good at doing this. It makes us feel good. Of course, we want to, rise to that occasion and help.
Yeah, you feel seen, you feel appreciated. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I've never, ever had anyone, like I said, people who are neurodiverse, never had anyone come back and say, this is BS. This isn't me. Everyone says, yeah, that's me. That's it. And I feel that's exactly what I feel good about. So I'd love to, any way I can help this way. I've got the assessments and do a personal portfolio for folks, and that's easy to do. And it's a good starting point to then understand kind of where I can go and how do you apply this in your life. And the cool thing too, it's not just work, not just school, but it's your life. How do you apply it in relationships? How do you apply it with your friends and hobbies or whatever? So
very cool. Awesome.
Amazing.
She'll be back in May. I'll be signing up.
I feel like you'll be getting some referrals from us.
Yeah.
The thing too that I offer is I'll offer a free 15 minutes. Like it's on my site. Sign up for just 15 minutes. I can go through this really quickly. And then you can say, yeah, I'd really love to do the assessment or, whatever. But there's no cost. It's free. So I can kind of, once I can explain it, which I probably don't do as well on the website, when I can explain it verbally, people get it, and they say, yeah, this is what I need.
Do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
When do
you want to share your website, your social media, any of that?
Yeah, it's TriSync Impact, TRISYNC Impact. So again, head, heart, hand, 3, try, and the synchronicity comes together. Impact, and then same thing on Instagram and LinkedIn as well. So it's all on the website too. But TriSync Impact is my main site.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And when do you folks